Hello and welcome to Hare Investigations. I'm your host, Anna Rucco. The Church in Valentine. Valentine Church. The church is located on the east side of Valentine. It has a faded white color and a wooden structure. It is also held up by bricks with wooden front stairs and deck that leads up to the double door entrance. Above the doors there is a sign that says, "Let there be light." The church itself is inaccessible. It has a bell tower above the front doors. All the windows are decorative stained glass. To the west side of the church is a graveyard. The sign on the church stays the same from 1898 in online mode all the way through the end of 1907 in story mode. The Reverend is Isaac Hampton. It says, "All are welcome and prayer books provided." A prayer book is a book containing prayers and perhaps devotional readings for private or communal use, or in some cases outlining the form of religious services. Books containing mainly orders of religious services or readings for them are termed service books and are thus not prayer books in the strictest sense, but the term is often used very loosely. A religion's scriptures might also be considered prayer books as well. The first Isaac Hampton I came across was Isaac Hampton of Oceana. He was a farmer and sawmill owner. He lived from 1821 to 1896. In 1856, he was a member of the New York Assembly. 1864, he was appointed postmaster of Oceana by President Lincoln, and he served several terms as town supervisor. He also was an entrepreneur and invested in a lot of businesses in the town. Isaac Hampton, Greenfield, Indiana, died March 23, 1913. This Isaac Hampton has several articles about him and his family and various activities in the Daily Reporter newspaper. He also worked in George Knox's first barbershop. In the minutes of the annual conference of the Methodist Episcopal Church in as early as 1880 until 1913, Isaac Hampton is listed as a preacher. Isaac Hampton has a connection to another famous person in history besides George Knox. Let's take a look at them. George Knox. In 1884, he moved to Indianapolis and opened the first of his eventual chain of barbershops. In 1892, he purchased the Indiana Freeman newspaper, the first illustrated newspaper in the country owned by an African American. The paper under Knox achieved a national circulation and won critical acclaim for its stories and publication until its demise in the early 1920s. He became one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs of his day in Indianapolis and a leading figure in the Republican Party until his death in 1927. George had a good friend who spent a lot of time at the barbershop, a young sign painter he called Bud. George liked Bud and gave him the opportunity to come into his shop and make pocket money painting shaving mugs for customers. At that time, each customer needed their own personalized shaving mug to prevent the spread of skin diseases like barber's itch. Bud was a lot more than just a shaving mug and sign painter, though. Today, you probably know him better by his full given name, James Whitcomb Riley, the most celebrated and famous poet of the 19th century in America. James Whitcomb Riley was an American writer, poet, and best-selling author. During his lifetime, he was known as the Hoosier poet and children's poet for his dialect works and his children's poetry. His most famous works include Little Orphan Annie and The Raggedy Man. Above the double doors, there's two plaques that read, "Let there be light." "Let there be light" is an English translation of the Hebrew phrase from the 3rd verse of the book of Genesis. This phrase, in various forms, shows up a lot throughout the RDR world. A plaque is located on the front wall beside the front doors. The plaque reads, "Storm Survivor, 1898." Several different storms of various nature happened in 1898, so let's take a look at the various storms as compared to the timeline. Fun fact, in 1898, President William McKinley orders the Weather Bureau to establish a hurricane warning network in the West Indies. And here we have a timeline of all the storms that I could find that happened in 1898, starting with the Fort Smith, Arkansas tornado in January, the Great Ice Storm February 20th through the 22nd. From April to July, there was a string of hurricanes that occurred through central United States. The Georgia hurricane, which was from September 25th to October the 6th. The Portland gale was from November the 26th to the 27th. Based on previous investigations, We know that the online mode exists sometime between August 1898 and December 1898, and that story mode starts in May of 1899. So based on this and the fact that you can find the plaque in online mode, the storms that happened between August of 1898 and May of 1899 probably are not the storms that the plaque's referring to. So it's leading more that it's one of the tornadoes that happened between April and July of 1898. Here's the map of the United States. We're showing all of the storms that I could find for the year of 1898. Blue is the Portland Gale, red is all the states that were affected by tornadoes, and black is the path of the Georgia hurricane. During the day, smoke can be seen coming from the stovepipes on top of the church, as well as at night. The bell in the steeple is a rope pull version and rings on the hour correctly. Now, as it starts to get dark at the Valentine church, the lights beside the front doors actually comes on about 8 o'clock p.m. Now, the lights inside the church come on at 9 o'clock p.m. and go out at 12 o'clock a.m. every night. Hypothesis. The church survived one of the many tornadoes that struck during the middle of 1898. Since the lights come on at night, then go out, smoke comes from the stovepipes, and the bell rings on the hour, we have to assume the Reverend is inside the church. Yet the church is not accessible, so it makes you wonder why he has locked himself inside. Now, graveyard note, the tombstone located towards the middle of the graveyard is obelisk in shape. White Hare Investigation. Special thanks to J Lash for assisting in the investigation and for editing.